stories. I'm Kevin Mulhearn. This is Forward Podcast, Better Athletes, Better People. Today's episode is the comparison trap.
Hey, everybody. I'm Coach Joe Clemente here with the captain.
I told you, Joe, I love that nickname because I was never captain in my sports teams, even though I really wanted to be.
Well, listen, you're the captain here, right?
Thank you, sir. So today's an interesting topic that not a lot of people talk about, but it's about parents who have kids playing sports, comparing their kid to other kids. And I just want your general overview.
So it happens all the time. As a coach out on the field, okay, I've been very fortunate that I coach kids from youth ages, probably 7 years old, all the way up to the professional ranks, mostly middle school and high school kids, okay, being in our program. So some of the things that I witness on a game-to-game basis is there's two sides. But there's more parents that are vicious than positive. I'm just going to say that outright. So
now, this is what age? Are you talking about parents of 7-year-olds?
I'm talking about parents of all ages. It starts then. It's crazy, Cap. It's really crazy. I see people like watching other kids. They're standing on the fences, right? They're pretending to root. And I've seen them turn around, like if a kid strikes out, they'll be like, yeah. I'm like, that's crazy. He's an 8-year-old kid. But it's real. I'm not kidding with you. It's real. And then take that and just heighten it every year, right, as they get to the high school level. And then put them in a situation where they're now at high school and trying to win a varsity job. Oh, forget it, man.
So you've seen a parent of an 8-year-old actually verbally cheer the strikeout of one of his kids' teammates? Oh,
absolutely. It made me sick. Like, I actually had to say something. And that was one time. But it happens all the time.
And this is 8U baseball, which every kid plays. Every kid's going to get at bats. It's not like it's a fierce competition where, like high school, where you only have so many players on the field. Everybody's playing at 8U. So why would the parent at a kid that young root openly against his kid's teammate? I don't understand why that would happen.
It's ego, right? It's ego. My kid has to be the best. My kid is the best, whether he is or he isn't. So that's what you run into. You have to see some of these parents. And again, I know we're talking about 8. They are like, I had to take some video. I can't show it on the show because I don't want to do that to people. But I actually started recording people, like parents that are like literally, as the kid's going up to the plate, like hanging on the fence. Johnny, don't swing at the pitch away. No. I'm like, dude, the kid's 8 years old, 10 years old. Even if he's 13, let him go up there and do his thing. But it's hard. Look, I don't know what happened. From your standpoint, you've gone through this way more than I have, right? My sons are younger than Dennis, okay? But I see it all the time. I see it all the time when we go out and play, like on our club teams. I see it all the time. The high school level, there are more people and parents talking about us as coaches and the other players in the stands. They don't think that we know. You guys don't think that we know. But we know, okay? And the bottom line is, like, that's got to stop. That's, like, toxic, right? You've been in the stands. Okay, but have you ever heard anything?
Of course. You hear a lot. You hear a lot of parents chirping when their kid's on the bench. That's just how it is. But I can tell you, I'll give you the counterpoint to that. You send your kid to a high school like Don Bosco Prep, any of the really good schools.
High level.
Non-public A baseball. You're sitting there and you're watching. You want your kid to play. What you talked about last week. You didn't send your kid to sit on the bench. You want your kid to forge a baseball career and play. And you can't help but compare your kids to the other players who play the same positions. There's only 3 outfielders who can play at one time. So this is just human nature, and it's not a damn thing that can be done about it.
True.
You're watching your kid, and you're sizing him up in your own mind against the other 3 or 4 outfielders or 5 outfielders who are trying to get on the field. And I don't think we're honest with each other if we say, oh, well, you shouldn't be comparing your kid to other kids. You just let him be. The fact is, human nature takes over, and you're going to say, okay, my kid is here. He should be. He may not be the best outfielder, but he's definitely one of the top three. Or sometimes objectively, you could say maybe he's not one of the top 3 or 4 outfielders. That happens too, although most parents don't admit that to themselves. Most parents always see the best of their kid, and that's, again, a natural manifestation of being a parent. You love your kid. You see the best of him, not the worst, or not even what other people see. You see your kid at his zenith. So I think it's really hard when you're watching all these highly competitive games, high school, college. There's a lot of really good players on the field, and you can't help but measure your kid as opposed to the other kids who are fighting for that same spot. And I think the key is you can compare your kid, but it's how you do it. I think it's got to be mostly in your mind. I think talking and squawking and bitching and moaning about your kid as compared to another kid who's actually playing is really bad. But I think in your own mind, you are doing that. You're making mental notes. Again, is this a school that my kid should stay at and play? And you look at if Ken Griffey Jr. and Clay Bellinger and Aaron Judge are out there in the field with your kid and he's an outfielder, you might want to get another program or reassess because your kid's not going to be playing. That's just how it is. So I think the comparisons are natural, but the question is, when does comparison become unhealthy?
Well, here's the thing. I have a question for you, right? Because you've been in the stands a lot more than I have, right? I'm on the field most of the time, right? So my question to you is, when parents deal with that, okay, you're sitting there and little Johnny's out on the field, or there's 3 outfielders, or there's competition. They're in the stands and watching this happen and literally rooting for the other kids not to do well. Is that healthy?
I can tell you that's really unhealthy. And I try hard not to do that. But again, you're looking to see, how is my kid going to have a road to play?
I agree with that.
But rooting openly for the kid to fail is something that should never happen. You should keep your own internal thoughts to yourself on that. Because sharing it, it's small, it's petty. It makes you look bad if you're out there like the 8-year-old knucklehead parent cheering on one of his kids' teammates striking out.
Yeah, but how do you do that?
But I'll tell you, in the baseball context at least, there's a lot of numbers that people look at. There's this thing called Game Changer, which tracks every game, every at bat. It's a running box score of your kid's season, and I've seen parents fight with each other about a ball being called an error or a hit when the guy's running the most competitive, the most pressurized role on the field other than coach and player is game changer operator, because he's got parents look at him. How can you call that an errer?
It's brutal, right?
Because it's all numbers, and numbers are a metric for comparison. So you're looking, if you go 2 for 3, that's a great day. You go 1 for 3, it's an okay day. And that one could be a hit or an error, and that game change operator has the sole discretion as to how to score it.
What if his kid or her kid is the competition or is in competition?
Well, I've seen that. I've seen that right? too. I've seen the game. I won't name names. This is
public podcast, right?
High level intrigue here. But I've seen game changer operators rule hits for their own kid on balls that are clearly errors, and then rule errors on kids on balls for their competitors who are clearly hits. So really, you're really putting your foot on the scale quite a bit as a game changer operator sometimes.
You gotta love when they look at you, right? And the ball gets hit up in the air. It's a fly ball to the infield. The ball gets up in the air, and the kid goes to settle under it, and it lands right next to him. It's an error.
Yep.
And every time it's a hit and game changer. If that's your kid, that is it. He didn't touch it.
If it don't touch the glove, that's a hit.
If he didn't touch it, it's a hit, man. But are you helping your kids? That's where this really, being a game changer guru, I don't know if that's really helping your kid.
But again, we're talking about the natural life is a competition, and baseball is a competition. All sports are competitions, and baseball particularly is a game measured by numbers. Everybody, you look at NJ.com, they post the stats of high school baseball players. You can track a kid the whole season, every game. What did he do? And again, you can have a generous official scorer that can inflate stats. You can have a tough official scorer that makes it harder to get those hits. I always found that in the basketball games, the higher we got up in the playoffs and the tournaments, the harder it was to get hits because the official scorers who didn't have any skin in the game would say that's an error. And sometimes
non-biased.
Sometimes we have a kid who's maybe the manager of the team or is friends with one of the guys.
No doubt.
Who's playing. He's going to give a hit for just about anything.
Oh, that ball ricocheted off of his glove, hit him in the head, but went in the gap. It's triple.
Right.
Right.
Well, went under his legs. Then he dropped it when he picked it up to throw.
But he would have beaten that out. He would have beaten that out. He would have beaten the throw. So it's a hit.
But you're sitting there as a parent watching your kid the whole time. And I do think it's a little different. I think when you're playing travel ball 8U to maybe 13U, you really should be much more open-minded about all the other kids on the team.
Yeah, pressure takes over everything, right?
Right.
So those kids that you're talking about, think about what Dr. Adam Wright said, right? In our book, the bottom line is most kids at 13 quit, right? Or after 13, right in that area. The pressure is there. If they're no longer the superstar from when they were younger, right? Think about all that pressure that they're getting from home or the parents, and then the comparisons. How come you're not as good as this guy? Why are you not you're not as good as this guy?
That's what we talked about with Dr. Wright. He's talking about kids being robbed of the joy by their parents, and I think one of the discrete ways the parent does that, a parent robs a kid's joy by comparing him unfavorably to another player. Oh, you had a double, 1 for 3, great. Johnny had 2 home runs, a triple.
Why not be happy for that guy?
But a parent who is doing that, who's really emphasizing the negative comparisons, is really robbing himself or herself of joy watching his kid play, as well as robbing his kid of joy from playing. It's a double-edged sword. You do both. Yeah, and it's all bad.
And the worst part about it is those parents know they're doing it. I'll tell you what, when any of the viewers that are out there that are watching this, do me a favor, right? I got a little challenge for you. Your kids play sports. Let's just stay focused on baseball because that's what we talk about a lot, okay? Watch the next game that your kid's at, okay? Watch and see how many parents, without saying anything, watch and see how many parents, when their kid goes to play a position or goes to the plate, like they're sitting somewhere, I don't know where they're going to be sitting, in the outfield, right field line, left field line. See how many parents get up and start walking closer to the plate, closer to where their kids are, okay? Watch how they act. Watch how, just if you watch it, you'll start to pick it up. And you're like, man, holy cow, like the captain and Clemente are right. I didn't realize that. You don't think about it. Watch how many parents, watch this one, right? This is going to throw everybody for a loop.
Joe, the captain and Clemente, we co-produced a song.
Cat will write it for us, right? Murph, you'll write that for us? But you watch. And when you can always tell, right? You can always tell the parents that you know are going to be, I don't want to say issues because they're not all issues. I think it's unfair for me to say that. But what I can say to you is when parents show up and put the tent right next to the dugout, I mean, they could stick their hand through the fence into the dugout to grab their kid.
Well, sometimes they do.
And they do. So. and they think that we don't see it.
Yep.
So as coaches, if you don't stop that, it will never stop. I've never seen anything like it. I remember my coaches, they would be like, if your parents come anywhere near the dugout, you're not playing. And they wouldn't tell you. You'd be sitting on the bench. You'd be like, how come I'm not playing? And then you'd look to your left. You're like, damn, Dad, can you get away from the dugout so I can get in the game?
Dennis told me after when he was first at Don Bosco, he was a freshman. He said, Dad, I said, one thing I got to tell you, you can't ever take the bag out of the car and bring it to the field. He said, once you get to the field, you said your job is done when you pop the trunk. Because I got to grab the bag, and that's my job. And he said it's really bad form if anybody sees you carrying my bag anywhere near the baseball field. And I think that's true.
We call that baseball etiquette, right?
Right.
It gets to a point as coaches want to make sure that not only are the kids coachable, but they're also able to be independent because they need to want it more than the parents. And this is exactly what we're talking about. People are rooting against teammates, right? Because they just want what's best for their kids, right? My kid's got to go play my little, but what happens on the car ride home, the conversations, we talk about that in the book. It's not just about what you're saying to your kid about your kid, but what are you also talking about to them about all their other teammates, their coaches, bad mouthing this. If you're a coach, okay, and you're going out there and you're working with your kids, okay, we talk about this all the time at Bosco, especially hitting, okay? Mike Dwyer does a great job with this, but we'll talk about it. We'll be like, okay, look, this may not be the way that you've been taught, okay? Now, I'm not saying you have to change everything, okay, for me. If you're natural, I'm going to let you be, okay? But we're going to make some tweaks, right? It's almost like the engine is already built. We're just going to tighten a couple of bolts just to make sure it's all good, okay? But ultimately, a lot of these kids will come in and hit with us, train, maybe the winter workouts, whatever it was. As soon as they get in the car, the parents are like, hey, what'd you do today? And the kid will be like, hey, I did this. And they're like, nope, don't do it. You can't hit like that. I've been your coach for 10 years, and you're going to hit this way. And if they don't like it, then they can go take a hike. And they don't realize the damage that they just did. The kid is trying, he's fighting for his life out there, right? And then what happens is, listen, you had to have seen this. Now you have a kid who listens to his dad, right? Or listens to his hitting coach or somebody, uncle, whatever it is, friend. They go out on the field. They don't play. And the kid that was at the winter workout that listened to the coach, made some adjustments, is now getting the nod. Whether it's fair or not, whether this kid's a better hitter or not, okay? Let's be honest. Maybe this kid hits the ball much harder. This kid listened to what the coaches said, right? And they're happy. They can trust him. They feel like they can trust him. They don't know if they can trust that. That's understandable. Does it make it right? Does it make it right?
Well, that's what the whole comparison thing is kind of interesting, is that because all coaches have to compare kids. That's how they make value judgments as to who's going to play and who's not going to play. You're comparing a certain group of kids, and certain kids make your cut as a coach as the kid deserving to be on the field and getting at-bats, and other kids don't. So you as a coach have to necessarily make comparisons all the time. And we talk about comparisons. There's a remarkable amount of numbers that are thrown out there at a very early age at rating kids, ranking kids. You look at Perfect Game. They start ranking kids very early. They put a number on 7.5, 8.0, or the top college prospect is 8.5. But they'll put numerical values on kids at a very young age. I think Perfect Game, I don't know how early they start, but I know
early.
I know
7U.
So they have numbers on kids that young at 7. I know by 11 or 12 for sure they have numbers. So we're talking a couple years even before high school. They have a numerical value. Johnny is rated 7.5, which is a good, solid ball player. But Joey over there is 8.5, which means that's on the road to D1 scholarship. And these are Perfect Game evaluations that they make watching a kid in a very small period of time, either at a showcase event or at tournaments, what have you. But the comparisons are everywhere, and that's something you need to navigate. And I know parents who've gone nuts when their kid got a 7.0 rating, and a kid who they thought was not as good as their own kid got a 7.5 or an 8.0. They go nuts. How they rate my kid so much lower than Jimmy over there? But it's not a damn thing you can do about it as a parent. In my mind, I actually threw those numbers out. The Perfect Game numbers. Dennis is starting to prepare to try to get in front of college coaches. I said, just play. Just do it. because your number at perfect game doesn't mean jack.
The eye test. Listen, you can have all those numbers. Think about when you go to a college showcase, right? Or kids go to a college showcase. They show up. Okay, and I know we're talking about older guys now. We were starting with the younger guys. But the older guys, when they go to a college showcase, it's to get their attention. No one's getting signed unless you're throwing 95 or you're hitting balls 420 and you got 110 exit velo or you run a 6.5 below. Okay? It's just not happening. They want to see you play. So now what they're going to do is they got to figure out your schedule. They want to be able to see you play live. And most of the time, these coaches are going there, they want to see you fail. Right? I hear it all over.
You want to see how you react to failure.
Yeah, I hear it all over. All these guys. Coach Bobby at Chasing Baseball Dreams does an awesome job. He has a bunch of guests that he talks to, right? Travel Ball Dads, the podcast. They talk to other coaches about the college side and what they're looking for. Most of these coaches tell you the same thing. They're showing up to see you fail because they want to know how you're going to react. You a good teammate, right? Are you going to be able to overcome it? Because guess what? You're going to fail more than you succeed in this game. And that's where this whole thing of parents, and I say this, wishing bad upon other players that are on your kid's team, like that's crazy.
You ever see a parent wish or hope that another kid gets hurt so that his kid can take a spot?
Listen, I never want to be the guy to say, I wish that is a false statement, but it's true. It's true. I've seen it in all my years. I always think that I show up and I'm like, oh, I've seen it all. I've seen it all. Cap, I'm telling you right now, I haven't seen it all. There's something new that happens all the time. I feel like parents sometimes end up making a scene, right, to make it obvious.
Sometimes there are situations where you're watching your kid and you know he's better than the kids who are playing. And for whatever reason, be it politics or anything else, who knows, Johnny's dad is the number one donor to the school. And Johnny somehow finds a way to get out there and in left field when my kid's a left fielder and he batted 150 points higher in the travel team the year before. He's got better power. He's got a better arm. But the kid is the donor's son, and the donor's giving a couple $1 million a year to the school, and he's going to play come hell or high water. That's just how it is. And those are frustrating moments, I'm sure, for parents. But at the same time, in every context, don't you think there has to be a code of conduct the parent needs to conduct himself or herself with respect to the other people in the stands watching the game? To openly root against another kid who's on your kid's team, in my mind, is extremely bad form. And if I saw a parent do that openly, I would really hold that parent in very low regard. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so we're parents. We're always going to be biased to our own kids. Anybody is, because all we want is the best for our kids, right? But there's also, you have to be realistic. You have to be realistic and say, okay, let's compare the two kids or 3 kids or 4 kids that are out there. Dennis being in college, I feel like being in college, like he's accomplished something that only 7% of the population is going to accomplish. Okay? Like when they're there, I expect them all to be pretty good. So I think you as a parent, and correct me if I'm wrong, right, Kat? But you as a parent understood, like, he's in college, okay? You went through a lot of ups and downs in high school too, right? Because you were unsure. And I'm sure there were moments that you were like, man, what's going on? Why is he not getting a shot? But you had faith in Runes and the staff, us at Bosco, to be like, hey, I trust them. And that's what it comes down to. Yeah, no, and listen, let me ask you this question, okay? When do you get to a point as a parent, and again, this is, you've dealt with a varsity baseball player. My son is now going to be a sophomore. My other son is going to be a freshman. Okay, I've already dealt with this one as a freshman, but not at the varsity level yet. At the varsity level, knowing that, like, this is what you've been fighting, what they've been fighting for their entire life, to play varsity baseball, especially for Don Bosco Prep.
Yep.
Okay, but they keep winning. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with a parent saying, my kid's just going to sit over there and he's getting much better because he's getting practice, he's practicing with the best, and he's getting reps? Are you okay with that?
No. You're there to watch your kid play. I don't think any parent who watches a kid sit the bench is happy about him sitting the bench, even if the team is winning. Now, winning is a great salve. It heals a lot of wounds, but not all of them, because you want your kid to play, and especially if you think that your kid is good enough to play. It doesn't matter whether the team's undefeated. You're not a happy camper watching your kid sit the bench.
So do you agree or disagree with this question I'm going to ask you? You ready? And it's not you, because I've known you for a long time, and I know, Dennis, I know you're not this way.
Careful now. Don't be so
sure. Double-edged sword right here, right? So are there people or parents that you've encountered, okay, at that point, ready for this, at that point that they are winning, the configuration is staying the same, their kid has not played, that now all of a sudden the comparison turns into hatred?
Absolutely.
You're right.
It's real anger and animosity at the coaching staff.
That's what it is.
Coaching at a high school level and beyond is extraordinarily hard, because you can't possibly please everybody. And you're going to disappoint a lot of kids and a lot of kids' parents who want their kids to be on the field and playing and showing their stuff. It's just how it is.
So it's human nature for people to be like, I'm mad at the coaching staff. I'm mad at the kids that are better than my kid right now. Or maybe they're not better, but they are producing, right? And they have the opportunity right then and there.
Again, everybody's making comparisons. Coaches are comparing kids just like parents are. But the coaches' decisions matter. Their final determinations as to who's a bit better than one guy being a little better than the next, good enough to play, is what counts. That's the one who makes it. The parent doesn't make the lineup. It's the coach who makes the lineup.
So here, so I have a story that you're gonna, and this will be my last. I guess I'll let my last touch on the comparison thing, right? So when I first came in and started coaching at Bosco, Runes brought me in, Skip brought me in, and it was a very prestigious program, but there was a situation there when Mike first came in, right? That there was a situation where we had gone through a few coaches, right? There were some issues going on. They were looking for the right fit, and then they found the perfect fit with Mike Rooney. So Skip came in, he hired the staff, right? Jimmy was already there. Of course, he brought in Dwyer and the guy, Smitty was there too and all. And what ended up happening was the first few years that we were there, we were dealing with this all the time. I'm going to tell you how crazy it was. We were dealing with kids getting cut. I'm not even going to lie to you, okay? This is a true story. Kids, first of all, everybody needs to understand that the worst day for us as coaches is cut day. Like, I need you to know that. We don't sleep the night before, maybe 2 nights before, and Skip does not. He is miserable. Don't talk to him the week of cuts, okay? Other than about the kids that we're looking at. But it gets to a point, like, this is how crazy it was, that a kid got cut, unfortunately. Nice kid, really nice kid, but he was below average. And his mom asked for a meeting. So we came into the meeting, and this woman walks in with a box. I'm not kidding you, dude. A box like this. And Mike and I are sitting there. Nice to meet you. We're here to answer any questions. And she starts pulling out trophies and newspaper. I'm telling you the truth. Skip, if you're watching this, you know how real this is. He'll remember this. And newspaper articles of how well her kid did in the town. Okay, and that he was an all-star.
9U baseball stats.
It was incredible. Right. He was 12-year-old baseball stats. Look, at that point, you feel terrible. So we left that meeting.
Did you give her back the trophies?
She took them home.
Okay.
Right. We left that meeting, and Skip said to me, he goes, he's like, I'm gonna come up with something better to make this easier for all of us and fair for everybody. So the following year, okay, we end up getting this booklet. Right? We get this booklet like this. He's like, okay. He's like, every kid, all metrics. I need notes on everything, on the way he throws, anything positive, negative, right? I want it all. So I remember that after that first year, I'm getting ready to hand these in, and I'm like, the stack is like this. And I'm like, this is crazy.
And every coach had one of these.
Every
forms.
coach had a form. Okay. Now, thank God that Runes he's pretty much a genius. We figured out how to be able to streamline that.
Right.
But for the first, I'm not kidding you, for probably the first 5 years, like we needed everything on every kid because he wanted to make sure. Okay, he wanted to make sure that the parents that showed up at Bosco tryouts, that sit in the stands, that are making your kid look really bad, because every coach there is like, "What's this? They're gonna baby him like that? That's crazy. You got to trust us. That's why they're here. Okay, we're here to make the right decisions." Now, when that happened, after kids got cut, we had to bring in. We would bring in a stack. And the parents would look at us and, "That's all on my kid?" "Yeah, that's on your kid." And that's how he rectified some of the issues. Okay.
So this was not a nilly-willy decision.
Exactly.
There was data behind it.
There was as much data.
Right.
I'm telling you, Skip was strict about it.
Yeah.
He's like, "I want to know everything. If he pitches, I want to know every pitch."
Well, let me ask you this, Joe. Did you guys ever make a cut of a kid and a couple of days later you came back to the huddle, the dugout, and said, "Boy, we were nuts. We just really screwed up. We cut this kid who should not have been cut." That ever happened?
Never.
Not once?
Never.
Oh, interesting.
It's true.
Yeah.
We're very diligent. And I would tell you that I think that most coaches at these parochial schools and the publics, okay, have gotten to the point where they have to be diligent. I think that what you run into in the publics, okay, is that most of them are like the homegrown, right? They stay in their public schools. They've gone through the system, okay? I think you run into more situations there that like, hey, Johnny knows Timmy and Timmy's friends with Bobby and Bob and their dad coached, and now you're at the high school and the high school coach knew that his father, or I think it's there. I do. And I don't mean to say that to be rude. I just think there's more home cooking there than there is at a parochial because of the amount of talent that comes in.
Have you ever seen a parent receive blowback for bad behavior regarding negative comparisons of other kids?
At Bosco?
Anywhere.
So I've dealt with a few, and I actually have seen my counterpart, Coach Vic Santos, who owns Santos Baseball. He will not tolerate it. I've seen his kids, like we've played against them, and we were in a tournament. There has been a situation where, I saw the parent get, and he literally was like, "Hey, listen, we don't need you. Just take your kid and go." And it's unfortunate because you don't want to take it out on the kid.
But kids hear everything. They know everything that's going on in the field. If a parent is making it clear, "Oh man, look at Johnny Smith, another strikeout," and making a scene about it, everybody on the field will know that's going on. And I would imagine what that does is really isolates the parent and the parent's kid by that kind of behavior. In my mind, that's just such awful behavior. If you're rooting for your kid to play and another kid not to play, again, it has to be done under hat in your own mind. Because to actually visually, what's that?
The book, right? That's why we love it.
On the ride home. Even on the ride home, let's talk about that too, because how do you talk to your kid about comparisons when your kid's not playing, say, or he's fighting for a spot? How do you talk to your kid about his competitor?
So I'm going to tell you
on his team.
I'm going to tell you right now that the ride home, if you're not having a conversation about your kid and how they perform, if they want to talk about it and you handle it the right way, if you're talking about other kids and you're comparing your kids and it's not in a positive manner, you've just ruined the chemistry of your athlete and that athlete. Listen, I know you want to be like, that's pretty harsh, but you did, because every time, it's like the subconscious, every time that the kid goes to practice or goes to a game and that kid fails, and you're going to fail. Again, we talk about baseball. You're going to fail more than you succeed. Every time he fails, what's the kid going to say? My parent was right.
Right.
My parent was right. My parent was right. And now what happens is now it seeps in. It seeps in. Again,
So subconsciously, the kid is actually if not rooting, expecting the failure of his teammate as well.
100%. And then that's where the negativity starts to come in. And here's the thing about today's society. I have 4 kids at home, okay? Ages 16, 15, 13, and 12, right? And that was trying because what you're watching happen, okay, with like all those different age levels is whether you like it or not, today's society is always about the joking around. Think about what I'm about to say. They'll say something, right? Because the society today, I don't want to say that they're not confident enough, but they've been taught that they can say something in a joking manner, even if it hurts somebody's feelings, and just be like, I was just kidding, man.
Oh,
I was just kidding.
you've seen,
Man, it's crazy.
yeah. And you see this happen on the diamonds and the fields and the courts as well for kids. That happens a lot.
Yeah, I hear it all the time. That's what the parents don't understand. That's what they're setting in motion. It's not just the one conversation. It's now the mindset. And now the mindset turns into wishing bad on your teammates. And now the chemistry disappears. And now all of a sudden we were good friends, but we're not friends anymore. And then you start hearing comments come out of the dugout. And what happens is when they're joking, they'll just make it a joke. They're like, haha, don't swing and miss, man. You can hit this. You ain't going to hit this kid. I was just kidding. Kidding. For me, like I wouldn't stand for that if I was playing. As a coach, I don't stand for it. I'll turn to the kids and I'm like, yo, positive.
You see a lot of teams where a kid strikes out and one of his teammates will rag on him for striking out. That's 3 strikeouts, man. You stink.
Yeah, you suck.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing here?
Yep. See that too.
I see it everywhere.
And that is toxic, as they say.
It's toxic.
But one of the things that's interesting to me, again, the one thing that the viewers and listeners to this podcast should get from this episode is the really right way to do it with kids, I think, is to just make clear to your child that he can only control what he can control. And the focus is not on what Johnny's doing or Jimmy's doing or little Freddie's doing. It's on what your kid is doing. And how is he going to make his own experience as positive as it possibly can be? How is he going to work as hard as he can to be the best version of himself? And once he does that, then generally, often, the competition is going to take care of itself. His success is going to manifest by that effort and attitude because he can control it. He can control attitude and effort. That's all you can control. But you can't control what another kid does, and you can't control what a coach perceives another kid's strengths or weaknesses to be either. You can control your own effort, your own attitude. That's it. And I think when you get, especially when you start talking negatively to your own kid about other kids' teammates, it's just negative all along because you're elevating the things that can't control above and beyond the things that he can control.
You know what I learned, Cap? I learned this.
It makes sense to you, by the way?
Yeah, 100%, because they have to be able to handle that situation, right? We are...
But they have to have the agency of themselves. It's themselves. It's what's within that's going to really rule the day at the end of it. What are you doing to get better? What are you doing to get on the field? If you work, we talked last week again about Nick Pambacco, the guy who was earmarked as a non-player. But if you work your butt off and you show something, you're going to elevate. Nick didn't elevate himself by downgrading and denigrating the other kids who he was competing with. He elevated himself by sheer performance and attitude and effort, which was seen and recognized and valued eventually. It's a really good lesson to learn.
And I'm going to say this to you at a young age, right? Because we started talking at 7U, 8U. We got to the high school, college, right? It's a little different that way. But I'm going to tell you right now that the reason why the parents get upset at games and start knocking other players is it's one reason. They feel that they did not do everything that they could to help their own kid be successful. And it could be, I didn't spend enough time with them hitting. I didn't give them an opportunity to throw. It's their failure. So it's so much easier to blame, right? Or now wish bad on another kid, which is terrible. And instead of just saying, okay, you know what? Instead of me wishing bad or comparing my kid, let's just I'm just going to focus on my kid, and I'm just going to help them get better. Whatever it is, whatever their sport is, whatever they compete in, whatever it is. That is the real mental side, and that's what I've learned because I was there. I'm a dad, right? I'm not going to lie to you. There have been plenty of times that I compare my kid to another kid and say, hey, why is he getting all the recognition and my kid's not? My kid's doing just as much as he did. And then I turn around and I say, well, you know what? That's because of me. Like, I need to be able to focus on him more and focus on this area because that's his weakness instead of continue to work on his strengths. Let's make his weaknesses his strengths, and let me just focus on that with him as long as that's what he wants to do. And then whatever happens. And we've all been there. So, Cap, I think it's pretty simple. You're going out to watch the game or you're going to a practice. I think you need to be positive and you need to understand that your athlete, whether male or female, is there to get better and develop. And all the other kids, no matter who their parents are, who they know, are there to do the same thing. And ultimately, it's having trust in the coaches that that you've left your kid there to go and learn from. That's really what it comes down to. I think if parents just allow that to happen, let there be one voice, right? Especially when they're coaching or they're they're playing or they're practicing, and they can just sit on the sideline and understand that, hey, whatever the athlete feels like they didn't do well enough today, we'll just work on.
And don't you think it's a good idea for a parent to congratulate other kids who do well and celebrate their successes?
100%.
And when you think about that, you're not taking away from your own child at all by celebrating somebody else's success. And in fact, I think you're letting your kids share in that success a little bit if you celebrate it.
You're also teaching them to be good teens.
And good people.
And good people.
Better people, better athletes.
That's right.
Or I said reverse that. Better athletes, better people.
Better people, right. Yeah, absolutely.
And again, do you think as a parent you should discuss issues of playing time with your kid? The coach's decisions of who's going to play, how much you're going to play, et cetera, where you bat in the lineup. Is that something that should be a subject of discussion with your own child?
If I say to you no, I'll be lying because everybody talks about it. Because kids are, they're very curious. They're going to ask the parents, hey, mom, dad, do you think I should be hitting seventh? Okay. Ultimately, the answer for me to them and giving them a piece of advice, the best advice that I have, is don't worry about where you hit in the lineup. Don't worry about, just go have fun and get the reps and enjoy your teammates, enjoy your coaches, develop. Right? Be coachable, go out and do the best you can. That's what you got to do. As parents, to be able to kind of navigate away from that, I think you just need to explain to your athlete and say, hey, listen, don't worry about everything else, right? You're young, I want you to enjoy this. We'll do whatever we can do. I'll help you. We work together to make sure that, you're understanding and the necessity of you being better doesn't have to be right now. It doesn't all have to happen right now. It's a process and it takes time. And let's worry about it as you get older.
And again, you want to praise your kid's effort, not in comparison to his other teammates or his performance. You want to praise the effort in it of itself.
Absolutely.
If you always couch it with how other kids are doing, sometimes your own kid's effort gets diminished somewhat. And again, especially baseball, which is a hard game, it's about attitude and effort is what you can control. Everything else you can't control, and you can't control whether you're playing either. You can't control where you bat in the lineup. You can't control whether you're on the starting lineup on the field. You can't control any of that. You can control the attitude you're going to bring to that field, the kind of teammate you're going to be. And when you think about it, part of the joy of baseball, especially high-level baseball, is just sharing a common goal and going out playing a really hard game and having a lot of fun with it. and to master that game. I mean, these kids, we're playing now the level of baseball that we've seen the last 3 or 4 years. We're looking at kids throwing 90 miles an hour plus routinely. I played a few years ago, and I can tell you the aces were throwing low 80s, maybe 82, 83. The best pitchers on the other team were throwing low 80s. These kids now, it's 10 miles an hour faster. It's that much different on the fastball from what it is now than when I played. And I'm dating myself, telling you how long ago I played. Maybe
parents don't realize that either. You know that. Like, you're going into a great point. Like, the game has evolved. All sports have evolved. So like
I was all league first team, all Ivy League, poly prep first base as a senior. I would have been the fourth best first baseman on Don Bosco team in 2025. Fourth. And that's being fair. I would have been fourth, and I was all league back in the
but that's what I'm saying. Like, parents, they always look at where they were. They don't see where it's evolved to, right? You just don't. They don't get it. So now the pressure is harder. Like,
it's rose-colored glasses, Joe. And a lot of us parents were always thinking that, hey, maybe my kid's going to be center fielder for the New York Yankees. It's always in the back of your mind when your kid is showing a little talent at 12, 13, 14 years old. Who knows?
Who knows?
Things happen. At some point, we as parents have to realize that most of our kids are not going to be playing center field for the Yankees or for the Mariners, for that matter, or any other team. But there's still a great deal of development, growth, and fun that can be had by fostering your kid's athletic career in the right way.
When we talk about, like, right now, they're as players, all this stuff, like, it doesn't really matter at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. When they get to high school and they get to varsity baseball, we'll know what's going on. But at this point, like, let them enjoy it, develop. But it is a life it's for life, right? People are coming in and wanting to hire me because I was a part of sports. I was a coach. I played. They want you to be a part of a team. Like, that's important. Parents right now don't understand how important that really is, how important that lesson is about allowing your kids to enjoy it and learning about being a part of a team and camaraderie and chemistry and friends and people you can trust, instead of always going on the backside and being like, oh man, I hope Johnny punches out twice so I can play today. It's not healthy.
So again, if your kid's in a competitive position where he's vying for playing time on a competitive team, you really don't want to focus on the fact that, hey, Johnny's in your position, he's playing where you should be playing. You want to focus on your kid. So what do you need to do to better yourself? And if things break right and you have some talent and you work hard, maybe the forces will be with you and you'll actually get the opportunity to do something and play and succeed. And there's also a possibility that that's not going to happen, and you're going to have to be a teammate who's going to watch your friends from the bench. That happens too, and that's not a crime.
I can't even tell you how many times I've seen it. I've seen kids at practice where parents aren't there, no big deal. I've seen two players that are tighter, thicker than thieves, and then all of a sudden game day gets there, and one won't even stay near the other because little Bobby's parents are like, he shouldn't be playing. He shouldn't be playing over you, or he shouldn't be playing more than you, or he should. Look, they're all going to play. There's 9 positions, and most of the time you have 12, 13 kids on a team. Rotate. They're going to rotate, especially at a young age. They're going to get an opportunity. And the other thing is, I can't stand when people are like, oh, well, I'm hitting 8th in the lineup. Let me explain something to you. Okay, let's be really, really smart about this. You're 8th in the lineup, but after, at any given moment, depending on what happens after the first inning, if they go 1, 2, 3, well, guess what? You're no longer 8th in the lineup, right? You're only 8th in the lineup at the start of the game to know that you're in the lineup, okay? Like, you sit there and you sulk. Like, there's plenty of kids out there that would love to be 8th in the lineup, okay? Don't get so caught up that like, oh my God, I'm not hitting 1, 2, or 3. Who cares?
Parents care. Parents look at a kid. They think their kid's a really good ball player, and he's batting eighth or ninth. A lot of times, the parents get really ticked. It just that happens. I mean, the parent looks at the lineup, and if a kid is batting eighth or ninth, and he thinks that his kid is a top of the lineup kid, batting eighth or ninth is kind of viewed as an insult.
Yeah, but again, let's be smart mathematically, right? You're like a genius. It all depends on where the last out is made. That's all it is. So what if you hit 7? What if 7 guys get up and guess what? Now you're the leadoff guy.
Well, and that's some coaches, they put a good hitter down there at number 9 because you get a second leadoff guy sometimes.
I bury 2 guys down there all the time,
right.
And let me tell you something. It has worked for 20 years.
When you roll over the top.
That's
of your
one of
line,
my secrets. Don't tell nobody.
You roll over the top of your lineup. You have a good hitter who's batting ninth, who runs, who's athletic.
My second leadoff guy hits 9.
Right.
Because now it's like, okay, I got a contact guy, I got a fast guy, but again, parents at a young age, they get blinded by that. They don't understand that coaches, like, at a young age, they're going to plug kids in, go hit and have fun and just be natural and enjoy your friends. They can't do it. Parents are the ones who are ruining the game for the kids. We talk about it all the time. So now, as a parent, how are you going to be able to identify yourself after this podcast, right? Now you're going to know. Are you the person, male or female, walking up and down the sidelines, the court? Am I the guy I'm at my seat and I'm screaming at my kid? Does my kid, every time that he makes it out, look over to me and put his head down? Listen, if that's you, stop. Just stop. Like, you're ruining your kid. And if you can't do it, then don't go to the game.
You ever tell a parent you really should stay away from the field?
Oh, man. If I took, like, more times than not, it's crazy. And you know what happens?
Do they listen to you? Do they stay away?
Yeah, they do. They stay away until they can't stay away any longer, and then they come apologize, and they think I'm stupid. You know what? You want to know the first red flag? Okay, I have been doing this for so long, especially when we pick club teams, when we're picking our club teams. The first red flag is the parent that walks over to me and says, "Hey, coach, I just want to let you know, like, I'm not one of those parents." No, you are. That is the first, dude. That is the first. Red flag is like the size of this room. I never said that
to you, did I?
No, never, okay. Never. But I see it all, like, that is the first thing they say. Coach, oh, pleasure. Like, I just want to let you know, like, I'm not one of those parents. No, you are. And just so you know, I'm letting you know, I just put a check mark next to your son's name to know that I'm going to be dealing with this parent. And if it's a bubble, right? If he's on a bubble, I'm not taking him. And it's unfortunate because you just screwed your kid. It had nothing. Don't say that ever to a coach. Coach, I'm one of. Don't do it. Just if you're gonna cap, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The people that always tell you that they're not. Oh, what about the people that stand like at tryouts? Like they stand like right next to the field. Oh no. I won't be any issues, coach. No, you are. You've got to let this go.
You guys really hate parents being at tryouts, don't you?
At the high school level, it is like a sin. I'm telling you right now, it is like the kiss of death. And I'll tell you, it's only because most of the time, not all, I want to tell you that, not all, but most of the time, it's a parent who is very, very unsure of their kid's ability, okay? And they are super nervous of whether or not their kid's going to make it or not make it. But once you get out there, and now you take, like you said, rose-colored glasses, right? You have to be honest. And when you see the rest of the playing field and you're like, whoa, these kids are good. My kid may not make it. Like, you have to be real with yourself. You got to be honest. And when you get in the car, like, don't be like, oh, everything's cool. Like, just go out and, tell your kid, go work as hard as you can. Do the best you can. I walked into the dugout during tryouts, and the kids didn't know I was there. I was walking in, and there was a bunch of the kids that were trying out. And I walked behind. I went through the dugout, and I came back around the back. I must have heard, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 kids that were like, oh, I'm going to be starting on this team when once the season goes, and I'm going to be starting in right. I'm going to be starting in center. I'm going to be this is, they all got cut. They all got cut. I didn't cut them. Like, it was just in the tryouts. They got cut. They didn't make the team. So now, what were those parents? Now, again, being positive.
The parents are feeding delusions.
Oh my God,
where they're overvaluing their kids' ability.
Delusional, and that's what they're doing. They're taking kids. They're putting down kids to try to mentally like screw those kids up.
But think about it, Joe. It's a pretty far leap from starting on a team to not making the team. The gap there between actuality and perception is enormous in that context, you would think.
Well, isn't it the kid's perception too?
But where does the kid get his perception?
That's exactly where they get it, Cap. Right from the parents.
Right.
That's just blowing smoke. Right? Just keep blowing it up, instead of, hey, from the start, be realistic, be positive, cheer on your teammates, parents, go out, enjoy the games. They're young. Root for the kids. Root for all of the kids. Have a great time. Go get your pizza afterwards, your ice cream, and keep enjoying yourselves. And then all of a sudden, when the time is right, your athlete will blossom. And if they don't, then it's okay too. And they're going to be good or great at something else that they love.
And I have a little secret as a parent of a baseball player. It's a heck of a lot more fun watching your kids' teammates and actually rooting for everybody to succeed rather than fail. It's a very lonely process if you're only rooting for your kid to do well and you're rooting for the other kids to do poorly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well said, Cap.
So I think this is a good spot to end. This was a fun conversation, as always.
Always is.
And illuminating for me.
Absolutely.
Can't wait till next week. And until then, keep moving forward. Signing off. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Forward. If today's conversation helped you, we'd love for you to subscribe and share it with someone who cares about developing better athletes and better people. Forward is a Hard Knock Press publication where we're building books, conversations, and ideas that challenge conventional thinking and help people grow. Until next time, keep moving forward.